Hello everyone, Nordic Beast here, and welcome to an episode of 5 or more tanks that I would like to see in War Thunder. Now, if I sound awful to you, I apologize. Around Halloween, my daughter got sick, and she ended up getting all of us sick. So I'm in the middle of fighting off a head cold right now. Not real fun. But I digress. So, the first tank on our list is the M24 FL10. The French being the biggest post-war buyer of the M24, the French often experimented with swapping the turrets and hulls between the M24 and the AMX-13. We currently have the AMX-13-24, which is AMX-13 hull, with a very awkwardly attached M24 turret on top. But despite its odd appearance, it is actually a surprisingly good premium. However, what we don't have is the M24 FL10, an M24 hull with an AMX-13 FL10 turret. In real life, though, this had some issues, mainly with cramped spacing inside and the unstable high-explosive rounds for that 75mm gun, which made it dangerous to use inside those confined quarters, so it could technically only use the solid shot. However, I think this would be interesting in-game, because you would get the solid shot only, no HE, but you would actually have an additional crew member in the hull. 2 in the hull, 2 in the turret. And therefore a little bit more survivability. I think this would make an excellent battle pass or squadron vehicle for France at 6.7, the same as the AMX-13. Next on the list we have the T-77. This is one I've actually wanted for quite a while. A late war development of the M24 to replace the aging M16. It was built around similar technology that was used in the turrets of B-29 bombers. It had the standard M24 hull, but used a new turret with 6 50 caliber machine guns, 2 open positions on top of the turret that also used plexiglass bubbles to help protect the crew, but they were often removed in testing. Both gunners had identical controls, so you have redundancy between the 2 crew members. Due to the low penetration of the 50 caliber machine guns, at only 31mm, it would be a very limited ground use, but a fantastic anti-air. I would suggest this being in the regular American tree at 3.7. Next up, we have another M24, the MN-116 Panzerjäger. Post-World War II, the Allies were looking for any supporters that they could get against a possible Soviet invasion, a pre-NATO, so to speak. Norway would prove to be one of these countries. Norway was then supplied with many surplus vehicles, including the M24 Chaffee, which was actually the first modern tank they had ever received. By the late 1960s, actually, the Chaffee would begin to show its age, and an upgrade program was started. The gun was replaced with a French 90mm firing heat at 320mm of penetration, a coaxial 50 caliber M2 machine gun, a laser rangefinder that was mounted on top of the gun, a new 6-cylinder diesel that replaced the original engine, and new Leopard-style tracks, and smoke grenade launchers from Germany. This would be a great addition that I think would be in the Swedish tree, but it could literally be in the actual tree, a premium battle pass, event, squadron vehicle, you name it. I think this one it could be any of those. Next up, we have the M38 Wolfhound. This was designed to replace the M8 Greyhound. It was a lightweight 6x6 armored car, had a 37mm cannon and an open-top turret with a crew of 4. But the Wolfhound wasn't tested until late in the war, 44-45, and it was cancelled due to the end of the war. However, during its development, it was tested with, you guessed it, an M24 Chaffee's turret. This version, I believe, could actually do quite well in the American tech tree under the light tanks at 5.0, much the same as the EBR in the French tree. Next, we have the T-49 GMC. Early in the war, it was found that the common United States 37mm cannon was quickly proving to be ineffective as an anti-tank weapon. They attempted to make the M3 Stuart into a tank destroyer with a 76mm cannon, and this proved to be unacceptable. So a new project was started, a small turreted tank destroyer that used the American version of the British 57mm or 6-pound quick-fire cannon. The small vehicle would prove to be about as tall as the hull of a Sherman, but rather top-heavy. Despite this, with its Christie suspension system, it proved to handle quite well. Later, the power of the 57mm would come into question, and they'd redesign the T-49 to take a Sherman 75mm cannon. This would be known as the T-67. These vehicles would later evolve directly into the M18 Hellcat. So the T-49, in many ways, is actually a proto-Hellcat. I feel the T-49 would make an outstanding battle pass vehicle at 3.7 for the American tech tree. Maybe even 4.0 if it did well enough. And here is a bonus vehicle. I only discovered this one today while researching these vehicles I am currently talking about, and this is the T-52. The T-52 was a concept developed by the Firestone Tire and Rubber Company. It used a barrel-shaped turret that's kind of on its side, as you see here, with a 40mm cannon and twin 50 caliber heavy machine guns that were mounted on either side of the ball, and this setup was mounted on an M4 Sherman hull for testing. The turret held 2 crew, a gunner on the right and a loader on the left. The turret proved to be too slow moving for anti-aircraft work. It only carried 64 rounds of 40mm shells in the turret, which is less than a minute of firing, which is not great for an anti-aircraft, and the twin side-mounted 50 cals ejected the casings out right into the turret ring, oftentimes jamming the turret. I don't know how good this would actually be as an anti-air in-game, however, I think this would make an excellent tank hunter at around the same BR as its shared hull, around about 3.7 or 4.0, as a premium or battle pass vehicle. It's one of those very unique vehicles that I think stands out quite a bit. So, there we have it. What do you guys think of this list? Is there any vehicles you would love to see in War Thunder? If there are, let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed, please hit the like button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.